Hey everyone, it's Shirley, and today I have the second part to the Obvious Signs I Was Gay video. That first video was from a year ago, and let me just say, over the past year, sharing more about myself on this channel, I now feel so much more comfortable talking about being a lesbian. If you look at last year's video, you can kind of see how nervous I was at the time. I tried to cover it up by being all, "Hey, I'm gay, ha ha ha," but I'd only come out to my high school friends a few months prior and was kind of nervous directly telling strangers that I'm gay. So I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who supported me and helped me feel comfortable being openly myself. You mean so much to me. And for anyone else watching this who's also part of the LGBTQ+ community, I would like to wish you a happy and safe Pride Month. The speed paint here involves characters from a project I'm working on with my friend, Flynn, from Flying Stars Animates. If you want to learn more about the project, check out the playlist linked in the description below. With this speed paint, let me just say that it looks a little bit chaotic, and the reason behind that is I didn't know what I was doing! So you'll just have to trust me and trust the process with this one, I guess. Some quick disclaimers before we get into this video. Let me just say, this video will have some of the more embarrassing signs that I was too nervous to include last year, so you might get a good laugh or two at my expense. It'll also have a lot about how I knew I wasn't attracted to guys, because comphet, or compulsory heterosexuality, was a huge hurdle I had to get past to accept who I am. In other words, it wasn't as hard for me to realize I liked girls as it was to realize I didn't like guys romantically, because I never let myself question if that attraction was there in the first place. To clarify, guys are cool, I just wouldn't date them, and that's okay. You still get the Shirley stamp of approval. I hate that I said that out loud, that's so embarrassing. And last but not least on this fabulous list of disclaimers that I'm sure you're enjoying, you might have done these things too, and might not necessarily be gay, and that's okay. This is about my own experiences and isn't meant to be taken as a WikiHow article. Okay, now that I got all that out of the way, let's get into some more of the obvious signs that I was gay that I overlooked growing up. Roll intro. One, I had a tendency to confuse platonic feelings for guys with romantic feelings, and wasn't able to tell the difference, because there were no romantic feelings in the first place, so I didn't really have anything to compare it to. As a result, when I was a middle schooler especially, I kind of just assumed that I had a crush on nearly every guy I was friends with, and believed I was boy crazy. I used to think that I was just incapable of being just friends with a guy because I'd always end up feeling super awkward. 2. When I started getting quote-unquote crushes on guys where I felt more comfortable about it, they would only be on gay guys or just generally guys that I had a below zero chance of being in a relationship with. Whether it was a fictional character like Jesper from Six of Crows, I didn't say that. Whether it was a fictional character, a celebrity, or someone who was already in a relationship, I very, very rarely had crushes on guys who I could actually be in a relationship with in real life. 3. This one's embarrassing, oh my gosh. When I'd get bored in my high school classes, which, no offense to my teachers, happened pretty often, to deal with the boredom, I used to draw my girl classmates, and only the girls. I had no interest in drawing my guy classmates. I tried it once, and was like, eh. If I saw a girl looking really pretty, maybe she did her makeup really nicely, or wore a cute outfit, and I thought she looked overwhelmingly pretty that day, I'd feel the need to draw her from across the classroom so I wouldn't forget how pretty she was. And to this day, I don't know how I convinced myself that this was 100% straight behavior, but I somehow did. I still have a lot of the sketches that I drew, but I'm not going to share any of them on here, just in case they're recognizable. What makes this worse is, as someone who has to look at my references every 5 seconds, I'm pretty sure that I was super obvious about it and that everyone I drew probably caught on to the fact that I was drawing them. You're welcome for the secondhand embarrassment. I genuinely thought that it was like me being a friendly gal pal being like, oh, she's pretty, let's uplift my fellow broskies. Yo, she's pretty, but you know, instead of just telling her that she's pretty, I'm gonna draw her and never say anything about it. That's totally reasonable. My god. Ugh. Anyway. 4. In my high school health class, we had a unit on conflicts and relationships. We had an activity where we had to kind of imagine that we were in a relationship and were having different kinds of conflicts, and talk about how we would work through them. And when the teacher asked what we would do if we had a certain conflict with our partner, I mentally went, this imaginary boyfriend isn't worth my time, and instantly said, I would dump him, duh. I was really astonished when I heard that my classmates would try to communicate with the guy they're dating, work out a solution together, stay in a relationship with a guy. I didn't realize that this was something other people would want, and should have been an obvious sign. 5. I don't know how much this one counts, but it's funny, so I included it anyway. If anyone remembers the Pixie Hollow MMO that was around until 2013, I was obsessed with it as a roughly 9-year-old. It's like Club Penguin, but with Disney fairies, and you get to create your own fairy and make friends with other players as you explore a virtual Pixie Hollow. The thing is, I noticed that when I played as girl, the other people who played as girl fairies didn't go out of their way to try to be friends with me. But what I also noticed was that the guy characters would have a swarm of players hanging out with them, trying to get their attention and being all friendly. So, in a moment of 9-year-old genius, I made myself a new fairy OC who was a guy and set off back into Pixie Hollow. And it was great. I had a fairy girlfriend for a solid 5 minutes there. Unfortunately, we had to break things off because my mom called me to eat lunch, and when I came back, she wouldn't stop spamming angry emojis at me. It was probably the worst breakup I've ever experienced. 6. Kind of going back to the drawing thing. As you know, my channel is called Shirley Draws. I make a lot of videos where I draw, and so who would have guessed that my art foreshadowed that I was gay all this time? So I only liked drawing girls growing up, which isn't necessarily a sign, but also the thing is, I just had absolutely no interest in ever learning to draw guys or learning male anatomy, other than this one drawing I did of Alan Rickman forever ago. Growing up, I just couldn't imagine why I would ever need to know how to draw a guy because I just didn't want to. I was like, okay, they exist. I don't want to draw them. I will say I've had some character development over the past year, in part thanks to my friend Flynn from Flying Stars Animates. I've become much more comfortable with the idea, and I've had a lot of fun drawing guys. Here on the screen are some of my favorite drawings that I've made of guys in the past year. Most of them are of me and Flynn's OC, Waddy, from a project that we're working on, but some notable exceptions include the iconic Julian Dvorak, Alex Cabell, Super Mario, and also Murthy and Waddy together. Now that I've actually taken some time to get a better understanding of drawing guys, I've been drawing them way more often, and it's a lot of fun. 7. Oh no, not this one! Oh, I forgot that I included this. This was when I was a middle schooler deep in my not like other girls phase, so prepare to cringe. But I used to genuinely think that getting a boyfriend as a middle schooler was an awful, terrible mistake that would ruin your life forever. Like, one of my friends had a boyfriend, and I just automatically hated the boyfriend, even though he was a nice guy. Like, as a kid, I was like, how dare you date my friend, you awful person. I didn't even have a crush on this friend or anything. I was just angry that they were in a relationship with a guy. I don't know why I took that so personally. It had nothing to do with me. One of the books that I started writing as a middle schooler and never finished involved the main character's best friend's corruption arc happening because she got a boyfriend. Like, I wonder if I was projecting. I still can't believe that as a kid I was angry about straight people just being straight. Like, that's ridiculous. 8. I would take it way too personally when my family and friends teased me about guys. Like, I'd get super disproportionately upset even when they were just joking. My mom would ask me if I liked any of the boys in my class, and I'd just get really upset. Like, no mom, how dare you ask me? Whereas now, if my family teases me about girls, I'm like, okay, whatever. And my middle school friends, as middle schoolers like to do, would make ship names for me and like the guys that they would tease me about, which at the time I hated and couldn't truly appreciate until years after the fact. 9. For years, I used to be classmates with this extremely conventionally attractive guy. Like, I'm not joking. He literally looked like a Disney star and had a really charming personality on top of that. Just picture, I don't know, Cole Sprouse or Zac Efron or imagine Ross Lynch, you know what? I was classmates with Ross Lynch, okay? Anyway, Ross was super smart and handsome and funny and everything. He was a lot of fun to talk with too. But I remember just sitting there next to him in class for years being like, dang, how do I not have a crush on you? And while obviously my friendship with him and any other guy is totally valid, with him specifically at the time, I felt like I quote-unquote should have had feelings for him. But I also had the sense that something was missing and I didn't know what. Who would have guessed that the thing that was missing was an attraction to guys? 10. Okay, the last one. A fun one because it's stupid. In high school, before I noticed that I had crushes on girls, I started realizing that I didn't really have any crushes on guys at the time. But of course, I had to justify myself, and you know how I did this? You're about to see some hoop jumping that's so good I could be in the Logic Olympics. In the beginning of freshman year, I genuinely believed that I had a crush on this guy that I was friends with, and by the second semester, he switched schools. So, for the rest of high school, for 3.5 years, I told myself that I still hadn't gotten over this one guy, and that's why I had no room in my heart for another. And like, it wasn't like I was even keeping in touch with this guy. After he left my school, I never talked to him again. I wonder what he's up to. But no, I literally just used him as an excuse to convince myself that I was still straight. So yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you, my pal. The other thing I told myself to justify not having any guy crushes in high school was because I was like in a lot of classes with super overachiever students. I used to be one myself. I kind of thought to myself, of course I don't have any crushes on the guys here because they're all nerds and therefore none of the guys in my class is attractive. Not one. If that isn't the stupidest reasoning you've ever heard, I don't know what is, but I was so desperate to convince myself that I was straight that I like took something as like inaccurate and stupid as that and was like, there, it's okay, I am still a heterosexual. But honestly, the nerd thing is so inaccurate. I mean, like, look at me, I'm a nerd and like, I am one of the most fabulous people in the world, thank you very much. Growing up, my logic jumped through hoops, trying to justify everything I did as something a regular, everyday straight person would do. But alas, I was gay all along. Who would have guessed? And now that I've accepted that this is who I am, I'm living my best lesbian life now. But ta-da! That was part 2 of obvious signs I was gay, and just me being a really gay child without realizing it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're also part of the LGBTQ+ community, feel free to share any signs that you overlooked when you were younger that are now super obvious in hindsight. I wonder if anyone else can top literally making fan art of their crushes and telling themselves that it's an art study, because if somebody can, please tell me. I'm never gonna live that down, am I? And now I've shared that with you, so yeah, I really am never gonna live that down. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support me and my art, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more gay chaos. I can assure you that unlike companies on Twitter, my channel will, in fact, still be just as gay after June, so you might want to stick around. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye! If my Pixie Hollow ex-girlfriend is somewhere out there, I hope you know that I wish you all the best. I'm sending good vibes and pixie dust your way. Also, I'm sorry for catfishing you as a kid and pretending I was a guy.